in the Horn of Africa. In today's video, guys, it will start in South America. Why South America of all the places? Because South America is interesting. It did have kingdoms and people that did make civilizations. But in today's video, instead of it starting in like going to the Middle East from Africa, Egypt and stuff, we won't have that really. We'll be starting in South America. With a point in Brazil, the Imaui, which I call these groups of people because I can, Imaui people form the Imaui country. I don't know what its name would be because I only came up with the groups that create the countries. And this country is a strong country. I mean, is it the strongest? No. But at this point, technically it is. It's the only country. It starts out small. With hundreds of years passing, it starts to move north up the coast. As resources are mostly down the coast for this people. Of course, there is forestry and wood, but most of it's up there. But there's a lot, so they're probably starting to exploit different resources that they find. With the Imaui people quickly deciding to spread south. With them spreading south, going around the coast. But they got more people in this country. And there's a leader that wants to expand into the north. And we will call him the Imaui Emperor first. And he moves inland. A lot of people think this is an unpopular move and a rather foolish move. Because expanding inland when the sea is where all the resources are. With them establishing cities. I'm going to add a different layer for the cities because I don't want the cities to mess it up. With a major city, and by major I mean the only city, being formed here around where it started. And a new city is started here, and a few cities down the coast. Those are just tiny cities. That's why they're so small. But there being wood and resources and land, but a lot of the coastal peoples in this country want to move out down the coast. A lot of the people in the south want it. Well, that doesn't make sense. I forgot to do this. As they move down the coast, they start to not really feel like they're being respected. A lot of the people far south, which decides with Uguara people living pretty far south. They decide to form their own country, opening a series of results against the central government. These result in the central government losing a big chunk of the south. These groups also want to fish, and some of the Imaui people want to join them, as this country believes in equality between the groups. With a peace treaty eventually coming, and they have 2 cities. Where is their capital, you may be wondering? Well, we still got to put that in. Because their capital is important. Because without one, what's the point of being a country? With it being down, with them deciding to make it more equal, because northern and southern groups are slightly different, they decide to put it up there. With that being significant, as it shows the equality between the north and south. With the city also being located there, which is not a big city, but not a small city by any means. But right here and here, there's 2 cities. Of course, the populations are less than 1 million in both these countries, because they're only tiny countries. Of course, they can't have 2 billion people, plus the beginning of the world, but in a different way. And they managed to move south. This country is a pretty strong country. They also move in a bit, but they prefer to go down the coast. With you may be wondering, what do they know exists? Well, let's add another layer to show that. I have the perfect idea to show it. How will I show it? Well, trust me, it's going to be a good way of showing it. As they know about down here, they don't know much inland of their countries, except them because they send a lot of explorers in. They don't know much to the north of them because they haven't really explored up to the north. With them knowing a bit of the ocean, they know the ocean's there and like that. And then that's all they know. So as you can tell, it's hard to say what they assume is going on here. But this is all they know. They probably assume land goes further in, but they don't know. They don't know. They just don't know. And as you see, if they explore more, you can just erase it. I would say. It's the best way to deal with it. But I think another way we could deal with it Just get rid of that layer and replace the layer each time they discover more. Maybe that's the best idea, who knows. But the country that was expanding north, inland, happened to there. Oh, I did on the wrong line. See, if I get rid of that, they're all still there. So what I need to do is really kind of a bit of Uguarawar, that nation, and then Imawawi. That's a weird name, but who knows? Why did I come up with that name? I just put random letters probably together. And as they expand north, they start sending missions up to the north. Wait, what? I made a mistake. Anyways, it's fixed. With them deciding maybe northern expansion, they decide to expand here and along the coast is their new way of expanding. And there's a group to the north that doesn't want anything to do. They discover. Just kidding. They don't discover that group. But a group forms itself known as Shikalashi. Yep, Shikalasha. That's what it's called. And that's a weird name. They form around here. No one knows of their existence yet, but they form up here and they find the Amazon. So they follow the Amazon inland. As they eventually take over this island and they take over like the area surrounding this area. Over here, they go down the coast to explore. But they decide they would prefer to go in. And as you can see, their expansion's pretty strong. But they decide their main focus is down the Nile, Amazon. Why am I calling it the Nile? What did they even call it? The Shikala River. With them expanding pretty far, but it doesn't seem fair. With the blue country deciding the time to go inland has started. With most of South America being undiscovered. Did they discover each other? Probably, maybe. But they might have not. That's a possibility too. But if they did discover each other, it would be different. But this country is still moving north. Until an inland country forms. With the Malzi people deciding to form the Malzi. Malzi is what this nation's called. And it's located in the middle, like over here. How'd they know to form here? I don't know. Why would they form over here? Hard to say. But the people have formed their capital in the middle of their country. While the Shikalashi people form their capital here. A few tiny cities have become up the river. A few down the coast, This country continued to form cities mostly up their coast. A few inland ones will form. Not many. With this country, since it started expanding inland, a few inland cities formed. And here they have that city. Anyways, let's go back to their expansion. With the Imawi country expanding even more, with them going up to there. With them deciding to start more as they're starting to get 20,000 soldiers that they can send. As they're starting to move north, they eventually find out about the civilization. As the civilizations meet. And this civilization hears about them and sees them. They know they're there now. The ship was sailing to go look at the coast and they found this country. So now they're meeting each other here, and both countries meet and share a border. With the Walzi people forming their country further south. Really far south. By south, I mean Uruguay area, over here. As they quickly expand up this river, not up fully, but they go up there, and this group, or the civilization that formed here, is basically not really a big civilization, but a pretty decent sized civilization. With the region of South... Wait, what? I just made a big dot. That means they have the biggest capital city. But anyways, the Malzi people decide their expansion should not stop. And they expand fast. But nobody knows they exist, because nobody's meet. Basically, the world to them is like this. This is what the world looks like. And if this is what the world looks like, as you can tell, actually, the world looks more like this to them. With expeditions inland and up the coast having happened, like over here, they managed to find. And a lot of expansion into this area is the Amazon area. To them, the world is... This is what the world looks like. As you can see, some of the civilizations haven't met yet. If they did meet, that would mean a difference, and they would know each other. But they don't. And with a nation that calls themselves Palsy breaking away and declaring their independence. And they do that from the original country. As Palsy people live up around some of the more northern cities. And they declare their independence. That's what they look like. At this point, they quickly move down, encircling and taking cities. As they move further down and manage to take their capital. This rebellion leads to the creation of their nation, which they agree to be, which the borders are agreed to be like this. With the Red Nation not very concerned, because their plan is to expand inland. Little do they know, this new nation also wants to expand inland. But the Palsy Nation still hasn't formed, like, a government-like thing. Like, they don't have capital yet, which they haven't developed yet, probably. With this nation expanding more along the Amazon area, up this shore, and widening this area. They know they'll probably have a rebellion at some point, but they're trying to avoid that. With this green nation being pre-nomadic. And they expand rapidly inside into the country. And let's see how capital cities are going. Well, they put their capital there. They decided to put a more central location, so they put it there. And they used the size 6, I guess, because I accidentally used it. But anyways, with this nation also making more cities, and like the Red Nation has more cities as people fled the other nation, and this nation decided to build more cities. And a few inland cities and a bunch of coastal cities. As trade is a big deal. Let's go see what the world looks like to them now. Since they expanded north, they know more to the north. Since they expanded north, guys, they know more about this area. As they expanded there. They also did more expeditions down the Nile. With this nation doing some expeditions south, this one doing some north. And this nation does them to this direction. And this nation has knowledge of these areas, and so does this nation. As this is what the world looks like to them. As you guys can see, they know about them. As you can tell. They need to know about each other, but the Palsy Nation, no, Walsey, and what was that? Palsy nations probably don't know about each other. They don't know they exist at this point. But let's see. Where's expansion now go? Well, they decide to widen their area around that like river. I don't have a name for it yet, but they probably do have a name. I'm still following the Amazon. I think this is about where the Amazon is. And with the Green Nation moving up inland, because now nations are more able to expand, as a lot of the nations have more resources. Wait, that's the Palsy. Wait, does Palsy even exist? No, Palsy is a Green Nation. And them moving in. With the Coastal Blue Nation moving to the south, or the Uwarwa people moving south. With not much conflict having happened, simply because it's not very old of a world. There's been no global conflicts, and eventually these nations will have borders, but they haven't discovered enough. With a rebellion happening in the river area, as these people feel like they're being neglected by the central government, and they declare themselves a nation of Winzook. Yeah, Winzook. Sounds like a weird name. They come name themselves if they're leaving Shikalosha. That's a hard name to say. And I made it up. Explain that. How can something be hard if you make it up? But anyways, with them also deciding to expand over here, which means they now share a longer border, but most of this land, it's hard to tell what they know about it. And eventually, the central authority grants them independence. Why would they do this? Because, well, they're revolting, and B, they can't hold on to them for any longer. And with the first war breaking out, which is started when they call it the Imawi-Ugwara War, with the Imazi people's government saying that they're stealing resources, stealing stuff, stealing, and more stealing. And they even invade the border. Just kidding. Although maybe I'm not. Who knows? And then moving down and encircling the first city and seizing it, as they move in to take the second city and third city. Although the Blue Nation got smart and decided they would launch a guerrilla warfare campaign. Although I don't know if that's what it's called, but we will call it it. Yes, I'm technically god of this universe that I'm making, if you think of it. And I'm not realizing the blue team is doing this, and they don't even know what's going to hit them. But an invasion from over here, and they're like, what? And they don't know what's going on at this point. Not only did they push back over there, but they're also launching a campaign, and quickly they take their first city as they widen this out into more of a bulge. Now, this nation doesn't know what struck them, and yeah, their people are humiliated by the failings of the government. With a revolt by the people to form a government system based by the people. The rest of the nations are either led by the nobles or led by a monarchy or an emperor. But this group is for people. It's basically a democracy. Which, as we know, democracies don't exist in this world quite yet. This is a first democracy that just came into existence due to the people's frustration with the emperor's order, as this becomes the people's state of, well, Maui. As they have taken a third city, the government decides to withdraw from these lands. At the capital falling into the rebels' hands, the rebels agreed to a peace treaty with the Ugwara people, which is a big deal because that means this fighting has ended, with them agreeing to set the border here. This country is unlikely to invade anyone, and the people vote to expand. Really, this is a direct democracy, if anything. With it expanding like this, and at this time, guys, let's see what they know about. And as you can tell, they're going to know about more because they expanded. Like over here, they know more about. Like, let's see. Simply, they know more. Like, the meeting. Wait, what? When they met here, that means they know about this. And they definitely expanded more. Still haven't met the nation in the middle. Which is kind of a big deal, because look how close they are to meeting. It's like they're both existing at the same time, but not know they exist, but they do exist at the same time. And as we know, it's kind of interesting how this is how much they would know. And obviously, this is probably 100 years. Also, not 100, like 500, 600 even. But as you can see, these are organized civilizations. Maybe they'll have borders soon. Who knows? But that's all for today's video. Please stay tuned for the next video for this series, Rise of Civilization in the Americas. And that's what happened. Bye, guys!